Habits play a big role in our everyday lives, and I'm joined by our very own Chef Jay, and we're going to chat about how to kick bad habits and replace them with positive ones. Now, there's a great quote that says, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit.
I love that.
Does that resonate?
It does resonate with me. And I feel like fundamentally our character and our excellence is a process of making continuous, consistent, intentional actions, right?
Absolutely.
So just as an example, I always grew up calling everyone auntie or uncle.
Yes.
My friends were very different. They came from very different backgrounds, and they would address my parents by their first name. But I always grew up that saying or referencing auntie or uncle is just out of a matter of respect. So, I mean, that's just a very simple, basic explanation. But I think true excellence is built from everyday making intentional,
consistent choices. Absolutely. And, it's interesting when you speak to anyone successful in any field, whether it be, elite sportsmen or whether it be CEOs of companies, they speak about their habits, that their habits have defined who they are. I have to ask you, because we spoke about this earlier on, and I hope that you are open to sharing it, but there's a habit in your life right now that you're trying to kick.
Yeah, there is.
Let's hear.
You know what? I'm going to speak about it because I've been speaking a lot about this to everyone, and for those who are watching, I've been trying to quit smoking. Of course, you know that, Z. And it's been really challenging, right? Yeah. And I think what I've learned through this process that I'm still struggling with is that I am my worst enemy.
Yeah.
I am the
Good
barrier.
Reflection.
That's stopping myself. So I think the word habit generally has a very bad connotation. But I think if you see it in a positive way and flip it over on its head, it takes on a new meaning.
Absolutely. And so, do you want to take us through what you're doing, what your thinking process like? Because I have to say, I've never been a smoker, but I have spoken to a lot of people who have smoked, and it is not an easy habit to kick. So much respect to you for even going down this road. What are your plans and how are you approaching it?
So initially I started cold turkey, and I very quickly understood that that's not going to be achievable or possible.
Yeah.
And then I started realizing that I often associate smoking with a specific action. So, for instance, waking up in the morning, having a cigarette with a cup of coffee.
Yes.
So what I've now changed and consciously decided to do is that when I wake up, I have a glass of ice cold water. I read a daily devotion and reflect on that. And then sometimes, if I have time, listen to a podcast, take my dog for a walk. And that completely distracts me from wanting a cigarette, for instance, because I think a lot of the time is that there's actually no real need or want for it. It's just a matter of habit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I found that now just cutting out that one point in the morning, it has such a big impact on the rest of my day, because when I get through that temptation or that craving, there's I'm getting goosebumps. I celebrate it because I feel so proud of myself, even if it's just that small step. So now I'm sort of trying to figure out what my next step will be. So I'm gradually cutting down and replacing it with something healthier and better for me.
And I'd love to ask you, did you have a rock bottom moment that has made you go, okay, I have to change this habit because it's not serving me? Or have you just realized that it's time to change something that's not serving me?
It was two things. The first thing is the obvious financial aspect to it.
Yes, tell us about that.
I recently spoke to one of my financial advisors who calculated to the cent how much I spent on cigarettes in 2023, Z.
Okay.
It was in the 20,000s.
Okay.
23,000 Rand, 796 Rand.
Sure.
On cigarettes. So that was the first thing. I mean, that I could book a flight to the Bahamas with that.
We talk about that after 5 years, that's like going into the hundreds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the second thing was a huge conversation I had with my mom. Obviously I've spoken about her health in previous conversations, but my grandfather died at 54 years old of throat cancer.
Okay.
That was severely progressed because of his smoking.
Yeah.
So I just feel like it would be very irresponsible of me to continue this lifestyle, knowing that my grandfather, who I never got to meet, died because of it.
Yeah. So you're putting preventative measures into place.
Exactly.
I really like that. And I also want to commend you on you speaking about putting one habit with another habit. It's a wonderful term called temptation bundling. If you want to start a new habit or break a habit, is you put one thing with something else. So for example, if your coffee is associated with your smoking, then make your coffee rather associated with your reading of devotions, which is what you're doing. But take your two little habits and make them both positive so that they serve you well. Jay, thank you so much, and thanks for sharing your habit-breaking journey with us.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, Eve.
Whether it's in your personal or your professional life, building positive habits is the foundation of long-term success and well-being. After the break, gynecologist Dr. Palesa Kennedy is back to discuss the importance of preventative screenings. We will see you in a bit.